Hello, it's Eduardo here, and I decided to make a short video clip showing the step-by-step that I did today in order to align the flying wheel and the circuit breaker on my motorcycle. The first thing that I did, if I start with the tools that I have, those are the tools that I used, and as I said, I would like to take a picture of it and show to you what I have received with the bike. And the wrench that I have used to open the valve from the front cylinder was this wrench here. Okay, that was point number one. Point number two was to come to the side, on the left side of the motorcycle, and then I removed the nut that covers the wheel here. That was number two. Number three was to put the motorcycle in the third gear, so I could have the engine loose whenever I was going to rotate the rear wheel in order to get the flying wheel mark centralized and work in parallel together with the circuit breaker and the valve valve adjustment combination. So that was the number two. Then the number three, what I did was to remove the spark plugs from both sides, front cylinder and rear cylinder. And then I have opened the valve can. I removed the valve can, or released with the wrench, and I turned it up and left everything ready for me to act whenever needed, considering that my next step would be to work on the circuit breaker alignment. So what I did in this stage was, since the spark plugs were off, then I started to use my hand to turn the kick pedal a few times until I got the circuit breaker, the mark that is in the top on the highest point, meaning that at this very precise moment I could adjust the gap between the contacts in 0.22 inches. And for me to do that, I used this gauge that I have, and I had this 0.22 mark that you can see here that I used to adjust the gap in between there. But I couldn't adjust it because first of all I had to make sure that the valve were in closed position on the side and the flying wheel, the wing on the other side, would be centralized as well. So then what I did was, in this side here, I noticed that the valve was already in closed position, which was good. Then I went to the other side. And then at this stage I started to move, to rotate slow by slow the rear wheel until I got the flying wheel mark centralized in there, as you see it. The thing is that in my first attempt I noticed that the flying wheel mark was in the center here, but when I checked in the other side, then the valve was in an open state, which was not good, meaning that in this case I got 180 degrees deviation. So I came back to this side again and I started to rotate the rear wheel again until I got the next mark centralized on the flying wheel. So it rotated the whole cycle again until I got to the next one here. When I got to this mark here, then I could go to the other side again and see that at this very point I got the flying wheel centered in one side, I got the valve here in a closed position as it is, and then I could work on the adjustment of the circuit breaker gap that I had in here. So at this very point then I released these two screws that you can notice that I have put a proper screw in here, and then I adjusted this gap when in open state with the gauge 0.22. And now, then after everything was adjusted, I mean when I got to 0.22, then I tightened both screws, and then I was ready to try to see if the spark was working as expected or not. So now, as I can see it, if I turn on the key, if I turn the spark, put in advanced and then close it, you can see that there are sparks there that is working. That was one test that I did. The other test that I did was by using this pen, the test here, that I can put, if I put it in closed position, you can see that it the light lights inside it. However, if I put the spark in a retard position and I put it back, then it doesn't light anymore. It's possible to see. I cannot hold the camera and turn the grip few times by filming and testing with the two at the same time. But it seems to me that everything is aligned and ready for me to start the bike. I don't know if you have any comments on that. I would prefer to wait for your comments and suggestions until tomorrow before I start to do something and do some real tests with the bike. As it is now, I think things are in place, and I believe that this is the first time that I did the setup in a proper way, because as I mentioned before, I haven't opened the valve at any time until today. So I strongly believe that the first tries that I did, I had good chances that the valve were in open position and not closed position as it is now. Meaning that this was the cause of many issues that I had with the motorcycle in order to start it and make it running. Well, I don't know if I missed something, but I believe that this is pretty much about it for today. Just to make a wrap up again on what I did was to adjust the flying wheel on the other side through the window, have it centralized, at the same time that I have the front valve cylinder here in a closed position, and then work on the contacts on the circuit breaker so that I had the gap adjusted in between the contacts in 0.22 inches, and that's it. I think that's pretty much about it. Thank you for your time listening to this video and watching it, and I would appreciate if you can comment something until tomorrow. Have a great day. Bye bye.